And I remember when I was like in the thick of it, I just denied it. I was in denial. Like I was like, I don't need help. Like I remember I've ran through a lot of therapists throughout my life, and I guess I had to figure out the ones that I actually connected with, you know, because that's important too. And it, like, I don't know, it was really hard trying to open up at first because I just felt like nobody would like get me, and especially like it was a lot of shame because in the Black community, like it's a lot of shame, and so I never wanted to say out loud that I am struggling, like something's wrong. Like I don't know what's wrong, but I know something's wrong.
We started right at the same time.
What's going on?
That was perfectly timed.
What's going on?
Yeah.
I want to say Kenidra Woods is what's going on.
Yeah, she is.
She is the reason, like her spirit, her energy, her humility, that love in her soul and that joy for her service is the reason why I'm so in love with youth and spend so much time with their empowerment. Yeah. And I think having her here in person.
Yeah, she is
in person.
In person.
I know. I can't wait to have that energy just be contagious.
Yeah. It's cool stuff. It's amazing. I mean, when, people just come with that kind of like spirit, that energy, that's kind of openness, a love, it's incredible. And the amazing thing about her though, that I really love is that energy, that love, that openness is on the backside, on the other side of her own life experience, which was not always easy, and doing research on her, which we both have done, she just had me thinking a lot about sharing, like being open about some of those things that are difficult, about being transparent about our life experiences. I mean, obviously, it's not like people go around every day, every person they talk to, and just kind of blurt things out. But when the moment is right, not being afraid to share, to own our truth, to own our reality.
I mean, for being 21 years old, young, and having the platform that she does, she's come open and honest about, and I just don't know how she does it. It's so much courage and vulnerability.
Yeah.
About being sexually abused, and about attempting to take her own life. And what that really does is, of course, I can only imagine, open her up to the world in so many ways that could potentially, be scary for somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
But then also it opens her up to the opportunities of touching other people's lives and inviting them to be vulnerable. And I think you've had to bring yourself to that courageous place a number of times in your life where you're being open about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think for me in my particular journey, at a very early age, I think a lot of kids have this. I think actually all young people have this before they become attuned or socialized to the kind of nuances of what to share and what not to share, and, shame around sharing certain things, which adults kind of heap upon them. I think kids just like, you want authenticity, you want reality, you want truth, which is a really beautiful thing, And I know for me growing up and some of the things I experienced when I was younger, it was like there was this like wall of silence around some of the things that were going on. And I could never act my way into being comfortable with kind of like the suppression, the hiding, the concealing and the pretend game, the performance of everything being okay when it's actually not. So, I love the fact that at the heart of her practice as an activist, as a servant, is that kind of transparency and honesty and owning her experience.
I mean, I think we talk about how much cultural implications prevent us from expressing what is deemed by culture as weakness.
Yeah.
I can say, from the perspective of the Persian culture, although I was born, here, and my parents have lived here since they were quite young.
Yeah.
There is that pressure, from the societies, from the cultures to sweep everything under the rug, to make sure everything looks pleasant. And I think it's interesting because of that, and you play that role all your life, people come to assume, and it has been the case in my way, in my life, people come to assume that I'm very comfortable, that I haven't been tested in certain ways, and it's because I don't share. It's because I haven't really come out, and I haven't talked about those moments of not wanting to be on this earth anymore, of thinking about leaving, and that needs to be talked about, because there are so many people that are oppressed and hidden under this kind of veil of keep quiet,
shame
to please the status quo, and absolutely, and
shame.
Shame. But and I think being around people like Kenidra allows us to share our shared pain. I think that if there's anything that anybody, like, that we share in the world with all its our diversity, is that all of us have pain in some capacity.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you come out with being truthful, knowing that it's the foundation of all human virtues.
Yeah, I heard that somewhere.
The Baha'i writing.
Yeah.
Then it makes way for connection.
I think it frees us too, which is really cool. There's freedom in transparency and honesty. Again, when the moment is right, don't want to walk around like a bleeding heart and just all the time. But when the moment's right and you feel it's the time to do that,
then you take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% agree.
Yeah, I think that's great. Particularly when you're working in social justice spaces and when you're having influence and impact on other people's lives.
Yeah.
We have to start from a foundation of truth. We have to have a willingness to come clean. But anyway,
Let's talk to
so
her.
we need to do this, man.
Let's
it's
go.
another incredible episode of Undaunted, brought to you by who?
Choose unity.
Man, you did that so well. You've been practicing. So awesome. So awesome. Should we go talk to her?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's have a conversation with Kenidra Woods. Let's do it. You got it. Well, welcome. How you doing, sister?
I'm all right. You guys are
Woods. That's your new name, K Woods.
Oh, how you doing?
K Woods in the house, y'all, kicking it with Nava and Masood. We doing our thing from Frisco to Maine, baby. So good to have you here with us. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you guys so much.
Here with Nava, of course, who's well, she's the captain of the ship. I'm just the co-pilot.
No. Not at all.
So good to see you, man. We're so happy that you're here and all of that incredible energy that you bring.
No, likewise.
We're so inspired by you.
Yeah, we are.
There is so much that a young person like yourself at 21 carries, and you've chosen this path to carry just a lot more because of your heart and because of your passion, because of your devotion to justice. We would just love to have you speak on that a little bit. Where are you at with that right now?
So I guess that's a good question because I don't even know where I am.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like I am stuck at a point in my life. I'm like, even with all the works I've done and that I am doing with like the different initiatives, like the Black Lives Matter and the mental health initiatives, I think I'm still stuck trying to figure out who I am. Like, because I feel like a lot of my life was tied to like activism and the work, and I'm like, dang, who am I without this the works attached to me? Like, who am I? Am I enough? Like, me alone, Kenidra Woods, like, am I enough, you know? So I really struggle with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think and that's real too. I mean, that's how to separate yourself, like, and I think we always struggle with it at different points in our lives, but I definitely think I can hear you on that, because it's like all of this stuff that I'm doing, I'm engaged in, I've got this platform, but when I'm just at home chilling by myself, when I'm kicking it with my friends, it's like, okay, I don't have to do that other stuff right now. I can just be me.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, who am I? Because I'm so engaged with this other stuff. I need to spend a little time with me, trying to figure that part out. Yep. So do you feel like, so in that sense, do you feel like the stuff that you're doing, it sounds to me like you're on the path to learning how to integrate the activism that you do with the self that you are, and perhaps not lose the self in the midst of doing the activism, or to create a space for the self to like develop more fully. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think I am in the middle of both of those, which I'm glad you said that, because sometimes I tend to black and white think. Like, I'm like, I gotta be either or, but what if I'm both? Like, what if I'm, because I feel like I'm still figuring it out, and I'm pretty young still, you know? And like I said, I feel like a lot of like my life, a big part of my childhood was like so attached to, especially like the beginning of my teen years, it was like so attached to like the work and just the things that I was doing for the world. But I'm like I feel like I've lost myself in that. I don't even know if like I developed in that way, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm struggling with that, but I wouldn't change it though. I wouldn't change the work I've done and that I am doing. Like, I think I just have to figure out the balance though. And I feel like I find that through hanging with my friends and just doing things that can make me happy. Like, if I want to do, because I like the different arts, like theater and like, like stuff like that, like script, like writing scripts. And I'm not the best at it, but
That's all right. You trying?
yeah, I'm not professional, but I'm saying like I like stuff like that. You know, I just like stuff that can fill me up and being around people who can fill me up, because a lot of things can drain us in the world, especially like with COVID and how the world shut down last year. So yeah.
What's that been like for you, this COVID experience and the work that you're doing right now, and so much of everything being on social media, even more so because it's the only way people are interacting? I hear from a lot of my friends, I hear a lot from the, from our younger population of people, that it's a lot of pressure. That when you're going online, there's a lot of pain in the scrolling. There's a lot of pain in what you see. There's a lot of pain in not knowing how you can actually contribute or offer something when everybody is so distanced with one another.
Yeah. So, wow. I feel like it's definitely been heavy. Like 2020 was like, it blew me. Like, I feel like I've discovered a part of myself that I didn't know. Like, it's a lot of things that I would not have done. A lot of people I probably would not have come across on social media, because obviously it was enough time for that, right? Like, we had more than enough time in the world. But it's a lot of things that I would not have done if it wasn't for that year. And obviously I'm not saying, gosh, no, like, I'm not saying that 2020, like, I'm glad it happened, but I'm saying I've taken a lot of lessons from it. But I have to say, like, during that year, I definitely went down a spiral mentally, because I felt like I didn't really have a purpose. Like, I felt like I was like, it was getting lost in the wind. Like, it was hard because I had to go to social media, but also it was a lot of hate during that time. It was like, people said some horrible things, and it was just like, yeah, I feel like people forget that I'm human, and a lot of people with platforms, they forget that we're human.
Can you give us an example? I mean, I don't want to take you obviously down that road, but can you just paint just an idea or a picture for people that don't know or understand that, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so like, it was like I think it was kind of like a controversial, well, people looked at it as that, like a thing that was happening, and it was like person with a bigger platform that I was associated with, and it was a lot of stuff that I didn't know about this person. So it was like, it was kind of the backlash on me, but I didn't know. I'm like, I just want to be friendly. I want to help this person. I want to be, stand alongside. But I guess when I'm alone and I read all the messages, and it's not like, the thing is, I am human, and it's kind of hard not to read it. Like, people say, don't read it. Like, whoever say they haven't read it, I mean, you're lying. But, like, it's hard to just be like, ignore it and not think about it and not ruminate. Like,
100%.
But I guess I have to say, like, when I see those things about myself, when people say like, kill yourself, like, you need to be like, it's a lot of horrible things I don't want to get into, because it's like bad and it makes me feel horrible. But like, I guess I have to say, like, when I'm sitting in a room by myself, I'm like, well, maybe I am these things. Like, maybe I am like, maybe I am like worthless, or like, I get so caught up in that. Like, it's so hard to pull myself out of that sometimes, because I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not doing enough, because I already feel like I'm not doing enough some days. So it's kind of like it just kind of like they confirmed it, like,
Kenidra, I think it speaks so much to the importance of your work by the reaction that you get and the resistance that you get to it. Those people that live on the surface, that don't question, that don't challenge, that don't dive deep, that do not pain, do not ever face this type of resistance from others. And I think for what it's worth, and I can't imagine what that must be like for you to read those messages. For what it's worth, please know that for every hateful message that you might receive, there are just lives that you are changing on a scale that you will not know about. You know, when you ask this idea, like this, you brought this idea of like, who am I? You know, I think we've all kind of, I mean, Masood, I'm sure you've asked yourself that question.
I don't know anything about that at all.
Yeah.
I've always known who I was.
I know. I had a dream, and I want to share it with you. I had a dream that I asked one of my ancestors. He came to me in a dream, and I asked him basically that question. And I also said, what could I even do? And he said, I want to tell you that you are a drop. And in the moment, I was like, just a drop? I was like, I'm just like, that is like nothingness. Like, just a drop. But he's like, but you are a drop in an ocean of drops. And what that ocean can do is so much.
Wow.
And
That's
so,
deep.
and for me, yeah. And so it's actually humbling, because it's actually nice to be like, you know what? I am not, I'm just a drop. You know, you don't put that type of pressure on yourself, but you know that your work with the collective is moving things forward on a scale we'll never be able to comprehend.
And there's never been another drop like you that has ever existed.
And the whole
in the world
ocean
before.
needs all of those drops.
And that will ever exist. I mean, I know I'm a pretty oblong drop. My drop is a little strange. But anyway, there has never been a drop like you that's ever existed in the world before.
Yeah.
And so that is like, and the ocean needs you. You know, you feed the ocean. So I mean, when somebody comes, says some crazy stuff like that, it's like they actually are, it's an expression of a kind of self-hate, because they're part of the ocean too. And if they're hating their fellow drops, this is getting like really, it feels like a nursery rhyme or something from school. That we're going there.
It's philosophical.
I'm going
Go deep.
Thank you.
Okay.
But it's like, you know, you're also like, when you're hating those fellow drops, you're also undermining the ocean that you're part of.
Yeah.
So, you know, and girl, all the stuff you doing, girl, please, child, you make me feel lazy. And I thought my life was big. I'm reading stuff. I said, I don't want to read this no more. She got me feeling lazy over here. I said, Lord, Kenidra, just stop. Slow down, girl. So take a break. You make me feel better when you take a break.
So that we can all catch up.
Thank you. But you know, it's interesting because you're essentially what you're talking about really in a lot of ways is mental health, right? Which is a big thing, man. And I know that usually, well, always, you know, mental health issues are rooted in a kind of some trauma that someone has experienced, you know. I've been in counseling and therapy on and off probably for 20 years, and it's been really beneficial for me. I think I started off really kind of nervous about going to counseling because in the Black community, you know how folks do. You ain't, what you mean you got to go to? You better pray.
Throw the Bible on you some
You
holy
ain't
water,
praying enough,
right?
child. You know what prayers you saying? You saying the wrong prayers,
Right.
But anyway, so so it's been incredibly healthy for me. But you know, I really think that you know, at the heart of it, obviously, is some type of trauma that we've all experienced in one form or another. And I know for you, you've had your own trauma, which led you to kind of, you went through your dark periods and you struggled with some things, and then you were able to, through counseling and also some key members probably in your family and friends, able to kind of pull yourself up out of that. So I think your life is a powerful example of the importance of prayer, yes, working in collaboration with therapeutic intervention. And so can you talk about that? Like, you know, how the importance that counseling and therapy played in your recovery continues probably to play in your recovery.
Yeah.
And how different that you think your life might have been without that. Had you just gone down the safe route that we go down, it's really an unsafe route, but a lot of people, the accepted route of saying, I can do it all on my own.
Yes. You said a lot.
Yeah,
that was
I did.
so true. Wow. It's played a big part in my life. And I remember when I was like in the thick of it, I just denied it. I was in denial. Like I was like, I don't need help. Like I remember I've ran through a lot of therapists throughout my life, and I guess I had to figure out the ones that I actually connected with, you know, because that's important too. And it, like, I don't know, it was really hard trying to open up at first because I just felt like nobody would like get me. And especially like it was a lot of shame because in the Black community, like it's a lot of shame. And so I never wanted to say out loud that I am struggling, like something's wrong. Like I don't know what's wrong, but I know something's wrong. And it's like, and I can't pinpoint. And so yes, that was something within myself that I felt like I was lacking, and then I felt inadequate, and then it was just like spiraled. It just spiraled. I don't know, it's just a lot of stuff that I didn't really know about myself, and I feel like at the end of the day I was like really young, but it's a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware about, but I know it was a lot of shame. It was a lot of people shaming, and I feel like it was a lot of ignorance. Like I don't think it's like they're just like, oh yeah, she's ill and I'm just gonna bully her. It's more like they don't really know about they don't really know, so they just say whatever comes to their mind. But I feel like now, with therapy, well, I feel like from where I've come from, I've come a long way. And I feel like without therapy, I definitely probably would have been dead.
Yeah.
And sorry, that's so blunt, but
No, that's real.
that's like, I just know, like, or I would have probably have been on drugs or something.
Yeah.
Like I probably would have had an addiction, or because I don't know. Sorry if that's blunt, but
No,
it's the truth. It's like,
yeah.
because I've had like a lot of hospitalizations. I had a lot of like, I had 2 suicide attempts. I've had like a lot of self-harm. It was such an addiction. It was so I just know if I didn't have therapy with that, because I was doing that with therapy and I was working through that, so I know without therapy it would have been a done deal.
And if you're speaking to individuals that might have had similar experiences, or speaking to individuals who are about to engage in particular, you know, acts of self-harm, how do you tell people you got through that? How did you come out on the other side of that? I think
about my future. And I like, it's different for everybody, but I think about, because I remember people telling me, what would you tell your kids if they saw your scars? Like if you keep adding them to your skin, like what would you tell them? And that's probably not a good, like, with people, when you saying that to other people, that might not work for them. That's fine. But I feel like for me, that made me think deeper, because I was like, yeah, I want a family. What would I tell? And I remember my nephew, he was asking me, he was like, what are those scratches on your leg? What are those, like, and I was like, I didn't really know what to say. I was kind of dumbfounded. Like, I was like, I don't know what to say to him. And he's so smart. Like he just caught on to things so fast. So he know if you're like, if you say, oh yeah, I hurt myself. No, he could see through that. He was like, these kids are really, really smart. And so I really didn't know what to say. And I feel like with those those kind of situations, I don't want to have to answer to anybody. And you know what? Like at the end of the day, I'm not obligated to answer to anybody. But I think, I also think about, what would you tell your friend? Like, would you want your friend to harm themselves? Like if you love somebody and then that was your friend and you like, oh, I love. So I guess I think like that. Would I want my sister to do this to herself, or will I want my friend to do that to themselves? Like, no, you know, like, so I try to look at it from that perspective, because it's like, it's hurting them just like I would be hurt if like they did that to themselves. And I hear a lot of people, I mean, I've had a lot of things where my siblings, they would be so sad, and I the thing is, I hung my head down in shame, because I was like, I don't really know what to say to them. Like I really don't. And that was a part where I felt guilty, and I got even more into it, because I'm like, okay, I deserve this now, you know, like I deserve this even more. So it's just like, I feel like there was no end to it at that point. But I don't know. I feel like I've also just did the work. Like, I think that's important. Did the work. Like, the thing is, I remember feeling so ashamed to say like, oh yeah, I take medication. But, you know, between medication and therapy, it's been really good. And don't get me wrong, I still have my like, you know, downs, uphill battles down, you know, it's still a struggle. And I feel like, when you make that decision, like, I want to get better. I don't want to be miserable anymore. And I don't mean to sound blunt when I say that. I feel like I had to come with it, like to self-discovery. Like I have to come to that realization, like I am not going to be a happy person in life, or my life is going to not be, it's not going to be as healthy. It's not, nobody probably will want to be around me. If I'm living my life this way, because it scares people, because they don't know. I remember, my sister found me like all bloody and I don't know, it affects everybody else around me and everybody else around you. So that's how I try to think about it too.
You know, everything that you said, you know, whether it's the cutting or the suicide, I had a suicide attempt when I was young, when I was in high school. I remember feeling like I was very much alone, right? Like nobody else had ever been through anything like what I was going through. And of course that all exists in, you know, my limited mind at 15 or 16 years old. And then you realize, man, there's so many people out here that are struggling with similar things. People that have struggled with cutting themselves or starving themselves or whatever, you know? And then you realize it's like, depending on what the trauma is, it's a very natural reaction to the trauma. It doesn't make you weird at all. It's like completely logical that you would do something to hurt yourself, right? In response to very specific forms of trauma. So, and I think the more that we can remove the stigma from, you know, abuse, from trauma, from our response to trauma, right?
Exactly.
The more we relieve people of the shame.
Yes.
And we don't feel like we're alone in it. We feel like we have a collective. There's a community of people who have been through similar things, who have come out on the other side. And so we have touchstones of inspiration, people we can look to. And I'm just gonna go on a limb here. You're one of those people now. You know, you have emerged.
And when you share this, you allow other people to come out and share.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things, you know, I'm sitting on the couch here and there's a lot of things in my mind that I hold tight to. But then when I hear you talking about it, I'm like, well, then maybe it's okay for me to say something too about my experiences, you know? And so your bravery incites other bravery, you know, with amongst others. So thank you for that. You know, I want to take a look at a little bit about, you know, one thing I've noticed, and I think Masood, you may have noticed it as well, that with the energy that drives every activism, there is a pain behind it. And that means like there was a pain somewhere that made you be like, I need to do something about this. And then there's a hope somewhere. So that I'm doing something about it because I have a hope.
Right.
What is that pain for you? What has that been? And what is that hope?
I think, wow, it was a lot. So when I was like very little, 7, 8, I was like sexually abused, and it was like ongoing for a minute until CPS got involved. And then, I don't know, I got older and it kind of spiraled out of control. I got in school and I just never felt like I fit in. And so I always just felt like the odd one. And all of that was connected for me because I'm like, oh, I deserve this. Like, it's always go back to I deserve this. And and I don't know. I just feel like the hope for me was like, I just got tired of like being miserable. And I feel like after, I'm sorry, I forgot to include in between that was like psych wards and like residential facilities. Wow. And like, I don't know. I just felt like my life was so miserable. And I'm like either I'm gonna die or I'm gonna be dead or I'm gonna be an addict of something or I'm gonna do something. I have to live a different way. Like, and so I remember just sitting with myself and I was just like, I have to make this decision. Like, I'm always like all the time, I'm always in the hospital or I'm always in a residential. And so it was just, I don't know. So I just felt like that was like how my life was gonna be if I did not do anything about it. And so, yeah, I feel like my hope was just a possibility of things getting better, because I'm like, okay, if I'm not present or if I'm not alive, like, I won't see any of that.
How did that play into your activism?
A lot of that was just because I know a lot of people might feel alone, and I was like, I feel alone, so I can only imagine what other people feel like. And so I just felt just compelled to go out there and just share my story. I'm like, there's nothing else that can freaking hurt me anymore.
Yeah, for real.
I'm like, I've been through the rough. It's like,
Yes.
like, I'm just, because it was a lot of people that's like, it's so stigmatized, obviously. And it's a lot of people who were just like ashamed to do it. But I just feel like there was nothing else that could get me down around that time, because I was down. I mean, I had been through the rough. And like, what can people on social media say? Like, and so, you know, during that time in my life, I just felt like I was okay to share that. And it helped me. Like, people say it helped them. It helped me to say that out loud and to know, like, the response. It was like, people, like, I knew that I wasn't alone. Like, it was a confirmation. I'm like, okay. And so that's when the conversation started, because I'm like, this is necessary. And I was so glad that I did it. And I would not change that.
Yeah, it's almost. I mean, what I hear and what you're saying, and I found this to be true in my own life. You take the power back by embracing the reality of what took place. It's like, this happened.
Right.
You know, this happened, and I'm working through it. Have done work. I'll probably be working through it for a long time, but I'm not going to suffer this in silence. I'm not going to be quiet about it, because there's a lot of other people out here who are suffering similar things, and they feel they're suffering in silence.
Yep.
And maybe by me saying something, stepping out and saying, you know, this was part of my reality, somebody else will be, oh my God, like you just said, the moment that you just said, Nava, somebody will say, oh my God, you went through that? I went through that, you know? Yeah. That's so cool. It's amazing, because we work so hard to kind of keep things hidden and buried beneath, because we're ashamed of it. And that's where the toxicity, like the illness is just perpetuated. And it's only when we air it out and we're like, yo. Hey.
Yeah, and also when people try to weaponize it against you, like, oh, they already know. You know?
Thank you.
So I feel like people used to try to say that. Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like people used to try to do that to me. It's like, it's out there. What else can I, what else could you say?
Exactly.
You know? People already know.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And there's a kind of there's a wisdom in that, and a bravery that is really remarkable for you, being 21 years old, to kind of come through that at such a young age. And I think the more that we can encourage people, friends, family, people we know, even people we don't know, because I know you have a lot of people that follow you on social media now, you know, but the more that you can stand in your truth and reaffirm your dignity and your inherent nobility, which is part of how you were created, you know, inherently noble, as we all were created, that whatever happened to you, but it did not come from you. That was just a part of your reality. That is not your, thank you. So the more that we can do that, the more that we give other people, we help to liberate other people and allow them also to hopefully come to terms with whatever has occurred in their lives, and to free themselves of the shame, which is where the healing can begin, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Can I speak to something? Because this is something that came up the other day.
Yeah, speak.
When you are posting on social media and when you are out there in the public eye, do you feel like any reactions would be different to your activism in your work if you were a man?
That's deep. That's deep.
That's right.
That's deep. I might have to get up on that one. I need a glass of water, guys.
Yeah, I was like, wow, was not expecting that, but that's a good question, right?
That is a good one, yeah. That's kind of why we have her on the show, unfortunately. Lord have mercy. You know, sometimes you ask for a thing and then you get it. And then you like, I shouldn't ask for that. I should have thought twice before I asked for that one. But anyway, go ahead. I digress.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I would say, I think it would be different. Because I feel like people, are you referring to more of like the mental health, or, because I feel like it's different. It can be different.
Anything you want to speak on.
Okay, so I'm going to start with mental health first. With mental health, men have to be strong. They cannot be, because I've had a lot of like my brothers, like I had a lot of men around me who struggled with their mental health, but they would never say a word.
Right.
And so with social media, I feel like they'd be like, yeah, you're soft, dude. You need to toughen up, you know, like, but I feel like social media is very like more accepting to women on there. Like, I mean, when it comes to mental health. Yeah.
Well, one of the only areas.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I say. It can be switched around, right? But I'm saying that's one thing where it's looked down upon men because it's like
expressing
you have to
their emotions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. But I feel like other than that, yes, it would be a different response because it's a lot of people that wouldn't talk to men how they talk to women.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's different.
I think my own experience, I came from a family really where patriarchy was deeply entrenched. And it was the kind of thing where, you'd go to family gatherings and you see women kind of, they're holding court and having their conversations, but really with things, just let's say, for example, the issue of infidelity. Now, if a woman was known to be someone who committed infidelity, she was called a whole host of names. And if a man was caught doing that, hey, brother, you're just doing your thing.
Yeah, you're a player. He's praised, right?
Doing your thing, right? Which makes no logical sense, because if you happen to have a daughter and you're trying to raise her to choose a man who is going to treat her well, and the men around you are raising their sons to just run around and play and have multiple, what kind of man do you think is going to be available for her?
Exactly.
So it makes like no logical sense. It's like one of them stupid things. Aside from the part, all the other stuff. I mean, it's hard to keep track of your lies. I mean, I'm not speaking from experience, by the way. I don't know anything about that. But, it's hard to remember who you done lied to. You got to keep a flow chart. I told that to Sally. I told Phyllis that. Oh, dog, what did I tell? Oh, Lord. I
want to laugh about this because that's bad.
It's just hard. So it's just a practical thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So aside from that, but it's like, it's like if you want to raise, when you think about the type of man that you want for your daughter, would you want a man that's going to treat her bad, that's going to run around on her? Then if that's not what you want, then why are you having this double standard and accepting behavior that you would never accept? Yeah, it don't make no sense.
I honestly think it's an insult to men.
It totally is an insult.
It's an insult to men that this is expected behavior. So we're pretty much saying that this is what men are capable of.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is our, our standard. That you are saying pretty much the men are animals.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an insult to yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
And I ain't no animal.
Yeah.
I'm a lot of things, but I ain't no animal. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So, but I think what's really interesting to me about your journey is the fact that, you are, in many ways, you're this touchstone of inspiration because of what you've come through, right? And because you've also turned your pain into purpose. Right? You also candidly admitted that the work is not done, that you're still involved in doing the work. And you're learning how to balance your activism with getting to know you, allowing yourself in a space just to be you, right? And I think in so many ways, the things that you're talking about, the candidness, the frankness, the honesty that you're speaking about, that is the same way that you spoke about the pain of what you went through. So when you made that journey when you crossed over that river to embrace your experience and not allow yourself to be shamed by it, you were setting in motion a pattern for your future behavior that can serve as an inspiration for the rest of your life. And that's what is so, I'm like listening to you and the way that you're speaking your truth and your reality. There's this quote from the Baha'i writings, Nav and I are both Baha'is, but it says that truthfulness is the foundation of all virtues. So it's like, no matter what virtue I'm trying to acquire for myself, whether I want to be courageous, whether I want to be loving, just, if I'm not being authentic and real, it don't matter. I'm just play acting, So by you standing in your truth and not allowing yourself to be shamed by it and speaking it in spaces where you feel like it needs to be spoken, you are exercising that first foundational principle, which is truthfulness is the foundation of all virtues.
Yeah. And I want to get on some. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Get on it. Get on it. Get on it.
We know that.
It was something you said where, like, I think you said something along the lines of, like, if you're not being true to yourself, like, I feel like that's been a hard thing because I get so caught up in, like, social media and like I'm like, oh yeah, their life looks so good.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
And it's like that. Yeah, and it's like you just never know. Like you just never know.
Yes.
And so people just like like, I feel like I have to think about it like they're human. And obviously everybody's not going to like say, oh yeah, I'm struggling with this, or I'm dealing with like, you know, all the things that people really don't want to talk about on social media. Especially not even just on social media, but it's people that don't want to talk about it at all because it's such like, I guess it's stigmatized and it's shamed, and people feel like, because they're not strong in that area, they feel like, oh, I'm inadequate, I'm lacking some way. And us as humans, we don't want to feel like we're lacking, you know, anything. So it makes us feel, I feel like for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but like, I know for me personally, it makes me feel of lesser value when I am lacking something.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, I need to be a whole. If I'm not whole, then I'm nothing. Like, you know, like I'm failing, and that, like, I don't want to feel like a failure in anything. But I think I have to just remember that, like, even though people are not being forthcoming about like just what they're going through, does not mean they're not going through anything. And so instead of getting caught up in that, because I'm like, their profiles look really good and they're really happy and they're like traveling and they're at the beach and they're, you know, they're just enjoying their lives, but I don't really know.
If I see another photograph of somebody feeding their French poodle a slice of cheesecake on a French refrigerator, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, but come on now. I mean, ain't everything like, you know, like bubbles and French poodles and
I've never even seen that photo.
Oh my God,
I want to see it now.
all kind of crazy stuff.
Wow.
I'll show you. I'll send you the thread. But I mean, yeah, it's like, come on, that's so fake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we're all human beings, and it's like, dude, you know, you curated your life so much, man. I feel like I'm at an art exhibition. I don't feel like I'm looking at somebody real. You know what I'm saying?
I think this concept of failing is a really interesting one. I struggle with that personally.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of pressure to constantly do things perfectly and to do things right, whatever that looks like and whatever that means. But when you look at history, those that have succeeded the most and that we consider to have succeeded the most at life are those that have failed the most.
Yep.
So, and those that haven't actually failed, I was reading some work and studies about, you know, I have a 2-year-old son. And so it was talking about the importance of having your child become comfortable with failing and how that actually builds resilience so that they have the capacity and the capability to deal with the obstacles of life. But we don't see failing as a good thing. I mean, I would love to live in a society where when somebody fails, good job. You tried something, it didn't work, that means you're gonna grow. And you're that one step ahead of yourself than you were yesterday. But I think social media plays into a little bit of that idea that things have to look a certain way, that we have to act a certain way or be a certain way.
Right. Especially like when you have a platform.
Yes.
It's kind of like the spotlight is on you, so it's kind of like, you know, a person with like 800 followers, I mean, people might still look at their profile, but it's not like they can really just post anything, right? But like the people with like platforms, and I feel like it was like new for me because it was hard. It's not like I was saying horrible things, but I'm like being myself, and like now I feel like I have to be closed in. Sometimes I turn off. I remember it was like last year where I just turned off my comments for a minute because it's like I can never say anything. Well, I feel like I can never say anything around that time or do anything that will make anybody happy. It's always somebody. I could be like, I love you guys. No, I hate you. You're horrible. Like, it's just like nothing you could say that can be, I don't know, that can satisfy people. Like, and I'm not saying it's everybody, but I'm just saying it's always that one person. And it's, I don't know. I just feel like I had to like pretend. And like, I used to get so caught up in that. And the thing is, I would be lying if I said I was still not caught up. I sometimes I do still get caught up in that, but like I feel like it's getting better as I go. But I'm learning to be more authentic with myself because I can be that with the world, but I need to be that to myself too. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's a process. I mean, we learn how to do that. I mean, I was on Instagram for a long time, and I got off. I've been off of it probably a little bit less than a year now. I don't miss it at all. I mean, I'm just like, I'm tired of looking at poodles.
I love that for you.
I'm tired of looking at poodles. But you know, but really, it's like I felt like a weight was off of me, you know, and I'm probably gonna have to go back soon. I mean, particularly with what we're doing here with this show, and I acquiesce. I will take the dagger. But you know, I mean, you know, we do what we must do, you know. So
and we must.
Yeah, and I'm wondering like, you know, who do you have in your corner who lifts you up while you're doing this work? Who's your posse? Who's your crew? Who's got your back? You know, I mean, I just met you, And one of my aspirational goals is to become one of those people, because I already, just meeting you and just talking to you, I already feel a love and connection for you in my heart.
Absolutely.
And that's
so
authentic,
sweet.
and that's real. So, but apart from that, who are those people who have shown themselves over time, have proven themselves to you, who are lifting you up, who are holding you up, who have your back while you're doing this work?
So I still keep in contact with a lot of my, so I keep in contact with my middle school principal. Wow. I mean, they've seen me at my worst. And I keep in contact with like, elementary school teachers, middle school teachers. I am still in touch with my high school teachers too. It's crazy, and then I have like, my friend Courtney. She's a therapist, actually. She's not my therapist, because obviously you can't.
But it helps, doesn't
Nothing
it?
wrong with having a friend who's a therapist.
I have one of those
Double
too.
check that off if I ever need you now.
I have one of those.
And also I gotta tell you, it's like a short story I gotta tell you guys about that. So she's a therapist, and during that time, like during COVID, the shutdown, she was actually supposed to be my therapist, but she said, I want to be your friend, so because you can't be both. And she's like, yeah, I'll just refer you to a good therapist. But I was like, that's so sweet. She's like, no, I really want to like, get to know you.
Wow.
And that's like really, I'm like, wow, me? What? But yeah, so we've become super close. And but yeah, so my twin sister, she's amazing. Like, she's my best friend. I don't think I would have done a lot of things in my life without her. Like, it was times where I'm just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I would just like want to give up. And she's like, no, she's had her own things, and I don't want to speak on her things, because she's in her own journey with that. But we've seen each other through a lot of tough times, and she's been my inspiration. She can say I'm her inspiration all along, but like, she's my inspiration.
What is her name?
Keandra. Hey, Keandra.
I saw that. The names are very close. I was working on pronouncing them before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said it before.
Yeah, I know, right? I usually, if I don't want to say people's name wrong, I'm like, I'm gonna just let them say it, or if they don't say it.
We have such and such with us. Go ahead, please.
You ever do that? You're like at a party or something, and you're like, I'm Masood, and this is my friend, and then you just like pause and wait, and then they like look at you, they're like, Ann, are you going to
let
introduce
yourself?
Yeah, it's like, what is the deal?
You don't need me.
Oh my gosh,
so
wow.
I'm glad I'm not
awesome.
the only one.
No, you're in good company.
I've got a long history with that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm so glad that you've got people around you that are encouraging you, that are holding you up.
Yeah.
And, it makes all the difference in the world. And it's interesting, because we come from whatever family we come from. We're born into whatever family we have no control over that. But then we have the blessing and the honor of choosing those people.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, right? And that's like, to consciously choose somebody, that's deep, that's different, that's beautiful. And I feel like I wanted to add too with like, I've definitely built a community over time, like with the activism work, because it was times where like all of us would be struggling, and like we understood each other's struggles, and like that's how we connected. And I feel like I've built a community and that way too, alongside like my sister and like Courtney, and
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's so good. Well, you are doing so many wonderful things, and I know that we have, which I'm so glad that we have had a conversation that was kind of less focused on the specifics of your activism and more focused just on you as a person.
Yeah.
Which has been amazing.
I really appreciate that.
Isn't that nice just to do that from time to time? I mean, Lord, it's like taking a vacation.
Right?
It's just
like taking a vacation from yourself.
Thank you. It's like,
Focus on yourself.
they asking me questions. They ain't asking me no questions about my activism. Dang, where am I? But no, I'm so glad that we've had this conversation, and I'm thinking like, for you, man, and the stuff that you're engaged in, just you as a person. You've talked a little bit about where you are, learning who you are, creating a space for yourself to exist. What's your vision? When you get done at the end of this brief span in time that you are on this earth, that you're doing the incredible work that you're doing, that you're just being the incredible person that you are, what do you want that end vision to be? What do you want the people that are in your posse, your crew, to be able to say about the work that you've done and the person that you are?
Wow. That's a good one.
We save the simple questions for last, as you can tell.
Yeah, so simple.
Wait, can I just add something to that?
Yes.
Because that wasn't heavy enough.
Yes.
In simple, what does that world that you're trying to create look like? What does it feel like?
I know the world I am trying to create.
Yeah.
I want it to be welcoming, and I want it to be safe and warm, because I feel like a lot of what's in the world today, it's a lot of ignorance. It's a lot of just pressure and different on social media. Like it's a lot of pressures in different industries. Like I want to make sure the world that I am creating is welcoming to every individual, no matter what, like the different walks of life, no matter where they come from. I want that to be a place that they can remember, like, oh, because of her, I am here. Because of her, I am inspired to do this.
Sounds like you are preparing the way for your ancestorship when you enter the realm of the ancestors. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. If we all could think about that and the lasting legacy that we leave, the world would be moving to a much better place. So
yes,
you're already doing it.
She is.
You're already doing that every single day that you're living and speaking and surviving. You're doing that. But one thing that really spoke to me when you told us about your pain was that you said one of the things that took you from that place to the other side was, or the other side of it, was you thought about your children, the next generation. And that showed me how much respect you have for that next generation.
Yeah.
how much you know that generation is instilled with the power that is going to drive everybody through to the other side. And if that generation does not have all that it needs emotionally, physically, and all the support that it deserves, then we can't get there. And I think that is at the heart of, you know, from what I can see, your activism.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad. Wow, that's really neat. You brought that up. And yeah, I feel like just how my life went too, like when I have children, which I love kids, and yes, I do look forward to having a family.
I can totally
and
see that.
And I think it's a way also to heal the parts of myself where when I was little I can never go back to, but I think I want to do right by I know I want to do right by my children. And like you said, just the generations, like the generations to come. That's and cool. You know, I'm only one person, and I don't want, as long as I tried, and I like how you brought up failure. Failure is like, you tried, right? Like that, and then it comes about failure, but you tried, you know? Exactly. So that's the most important thing.
Well, we just, we're so glad that you're doing the work that you're doing. And I just, you know, I'm feeling a lot of things. I'm feeling just a joy that you're here. You brought so much life and joy to this conversation, to this space. You are welcome back on the couch anytime you want to come.
Oh my God. I keep on, I just want to say, can we be friends now?
I know.
Yes.
I know. I feel like we already are. I feel like we already are.
Hang out.
We already are. Yeah.
It's gonna be like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna get a phone call. Girl, what are you doing? You know what time it is? Child, do you know what time it is? I just got a suit. I gotta talk.
I love this.
But really, no, we love you. We love the activism that you're doing, and just you as a person.
Thank you for being you. Thank you.
Just for being you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Are enough, and we want you to know that.
Thank you. You alone are enough.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
You said that, right? Like I feel like I get so caught up in like, who am I? Am I enough? Yeah. And I really appreciate that. I needed that today. And like, even though you guys, you know, like, oh yeah, we're glad we focused on you. When I tell you that is something I really needed, because I have been really struggling with that.
Yeah, well, good.
Like that's the stage I am in my life.
Good.
So
feel you.
And things happen for a reason. There's a reason why we kind of went to this type of conversation today, where we normally would have gone to a different type of conversation.
And you fed us.
Yeah,
I mean, there's things that you said that really fed our souls that we really needed to hear.
Absolutely. Keep doing your thing. Keep shining, sister. We love you. Take care, okay?
Thank you. Love you guys too.
Love you. Okay.